on this full moon day of Asadha, the day on which Lord Buddha gave the teaching Dhammacakka. The setting Dhammacakka Pavatana, in Pali we say Dhammacakka Pavatana means to set in motion the wheel of Dhamma. To set in motion the wheel of Dhamma. So what Lord Buddha was teaching was Dhamma. Not a religion, not a religious belief. He was teaching the Dhamma, the path to liberation. Teaching a path to liberation, not a religion or a religious belief. So that's why even now, some people ask, there are certain typical religious aspects in a religion. For example, people have certain rituals with regard to their life cycle events. In Buddhism, we have very minimum rituals. For example, in case of someone passes away, we do punyanumodana. But even that sharing of merit itself is not something much of a physical thing. It's a pure mental exercise. It's a pure mental exercise. One has to share the merits mentally in the name of departed people, for example. So everything in Buddhism, things are that hardcore ritualistic aspects. It isn't there because Lord Buddha never taught a hardcore religion. He taught a path to liberation. This is fundamental. So that's why it is universal. He taught the path to liberation. That's why it is universal. It isn't related to a particular belief, like say people coming from a particular belief system or religious system, and only it will be applicable to them. It isn't like this. It is something that anybody can take up, anybody can apply, anybody can take benefit out of this. These Eightfold Path. What are they? Eightfold Path is nothing but this Sila, Samadhi, Panya. To cultivate the wholesome qualities. To cultivate the wholesome qualities, virtue. So, when we speak in a wholesome manner, avoiding abusive speech, avoiding false speech, avoiding wrong or speech that is harmful to others or to ourselves. So this is part of our virtue, our goodness. When we do things, we exercise some level of restraint, physical restraint, by not killing or not taking others' properties or stealing or cheating or not indulging in sexual misconduct or avoiding intoxicants, things that are the source of intoxication and which causes a lot of problems in our lives. Drugs and alcohol and things like this. So when we are avoiding the wrong kind of speech, wrong actions, physical actions, and developing right kind of speech, right kind of physical actions. So this is a level of virtue, a goodness within us, and that has a value. That has a very big value. At the very basic level, At the very basic level, the value it has is to qualify as human beings. Merely by virtue of having two hands and two legs and two eyes and two ears and looking like humans, we do not necessarily qualify to be human beings. There are a lot of people who look like human beings, but their behavior, their conduct, their lifestyle is much below than that. They don't stop at any kind of evil, any kind of wrong actions. So that's not really like a human being. So at the very basic level, to qualify as a proper human being, someone who claims to be superior than other people, other animals, the sila is the foundation, at the very basic level. Without the sila, without the virtue, we are no greater than other animals. In fact, sometimes they are better. Say, for example, a tiger or a lion. When they are hungry, they will go and hunt and kill and eat. But then human beings, without a reason, without any rhyme or reason, they kill each other even in thousands or in millions sometimes, in the name of war, in the name of political violence or religious violence or this or that. So sometimes we are worse than them. So by doing all this and then claiming to be superior, it doesn't go hand in hand. It doesn't. If we claim to be superior than others, then we should have something to show. This is our superior ability. So this is the sila is the foundation. The good conduct, virtuous conduct, virtuous speech. This is the conduct. This is the foundation. This is where all the good things, all the spiritual practice begin. If there is spiritual practice, then it has to be rooted in sila, virtue, goodness. If someone lives an immoral life, a thoroughly immoral life, and then claims to be a spiritual seeker of truth, a spiritual seeker or seeker of truth, then these things don't go hand in hand. These things are kind of cheating oneself and trying to cheat the rest of the people. So we have to have something good. That's why the teachings Lord Buddha gave is rooted here in the sila, at the level of virtuous conduct. Then comes samadhi, meditation. Meditation is not something very esoteric. It's a very common practical exercise of being mindful. Being mindful. Being mindful every day, being mindful here and now. If we are mindful here and now, every day, little by little, then we have the ability to develop our mind in a proper manner. We have the ability to develop wisdom in a very systematic manner. Wisdom, we keep on saying in Buddhism, wisdom, we keep saying this. Wisdom is nothing but ability to know things as they really are. For example, if we have this body is subject to change. As you came here and sat down, all of us came and sat down in our respective places, whether in the chair or in the cushion or wherever we are. And then when we sat down, we felt comfortable, but then after some time, this body, it doesn't feel comfortable. That's with all of us. Why? Because that's the nature of the body to change. Every time it is changing and decaying. That's why young people become old people. Nobody is born old, right? From mother's womb, nobody is born, comes out old. Everybody is young baby. But then with time, the decay happens. Decay doesn't happen after 50 years or 60 years or 70 years. Decay happens every day. It's just like buying a new car and driving your new car all over the city, all over the place. Then after some time, some months and years, the car is old. But then car does not become old merely in a day, does not become old after 10 years. Car becomes old as you keep driving it around. Similarly, this body is subject to aging, and then aging is taking place, decay is taking place. Then after some years you see, oh, this is aging, now I am old. But then it is aging. It's not just old age, it's aging. Something more fundamental than the old age. Aging is just a decay. Even the newborn baby is also subject to aging. That's why it becomes 1 day old, 1 year old, 2 year old, 5 year old, 10 year old. So everyone is subject to aging. So as we know, this decay, this change, this is wisdom. So the meditative practice, starting with the basic fundamental level of mindfulness, is so wonderful, because we can see things for ourselves as things are happening within our body, as things are happening within our mind. We have a great level of control over the way we think or we exercise our mind in our day-to-day life, or in our in anything that we wish to do. We have a great level of control through this practice of meditation, through this practice of mindfulness. We can channelize our powers and even energies in a positive way, which is good for us, good for others, and cut down the harmful tendencies, cut down the tendencies which are harmful or dangerous for ourselves or for others. So this is where the practice of samadhi, meditation, not just when you are sitting here, not just when you are sitting, we are sitting and closing our eyes and watching the breath or watching any kind of meditative object, not just that time, every time we go around, move around, do things, every time we have the opportunity to be mindful and to know better about ourselves, better about our body, better about our mind, and to know deeper, to develop that wisdom, rightly knowing. And so, as we keep doing, the wisdom arises. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Yatha Bhutam Jnana Dasanam. As we were chanting, we were saying, Yatha Bhutam Jnana Dasanam. Lord Buddha says to these first 5 disciples, as I understood it through all these 4 noble truths in 3 different ways, each one, so ultimately in 12, through 12 modes, as I understood, Yatha Bhutam Jnana Dasanam, Subhisuddham Ahosi, then through this correct knowing, my mind was purified. Through this complete and correct knowing of all conditioned phenomena, how they really are, my mind was purified. So purification happens through the generation of wisdom. Purification is something that is inner exercise, inner transformation. So when we say purification, in the name of purification, people do anything and everything, you know. People do all kinds of rites, rituals. I don't need to elaborate them, you already know them. All kinds of rites and rituals for the sake of purification. But most of it is related to the outer cleansing of the body or something related to this, and a little bit may be connected with some kind of mental exercise, but not very deep. What Lord Buddha was teaching? Simple. When you say, he was saying, when I said purification, that before that I realized my mind has been fully, completely, unshakably liberated. Then only I claimed to be the supremely awakened Buddha. Before that I did not claim. Here in the Dhammacakka Pavatana Sutta, he says, before all these things were clear and I fully knew everything completely, I did not claim to be the Tathagata. I did not claim to be the Supreme Buddha. I did not. When I understood, then it was clear, then I knew that now I can claim. This is I have fully awakened. I'm the fully awakened one. So even the smallest or the minutest or subtlest of our defilements, when it is cleansed, when it is uprooted, when it is abandoned through the right knowing, through the wisdom, that what are they, what are the dangers associated with them, what is the suffering associated with them, and in what way can we attain to the release by completely abandoning them. This complete knowledge and complete realization. This is the wisdom of the Buddha. So when we pay respect to the Buddha for this, when we pay homage to Lord Buddha for this perfect wisdom that he developed not in a day, practicing again and again and life after life and cultivating and cultivating and cultivating and struggling, sometimes failing, sometimes then again getting up, again doing, again failing sometimes, but then never giving up. One Brahmin came and asked, how did you achieve? By never stopping and not by over-striving, he said. By never stopping and not by over-striving. So I found that balance and I kept doing in the balance. And I attained ultimately. So this is something very, very real. Nibbana, liberation, enlightenment is very real. And that we say real because Lord Buddha existed. Because someone like Supreme Buddha existed. He was the embodiment of enlightenment. That's why we say real. Otherwise it's all imaginary. Okay, there may be enlightenment, I don't know, maybe possible, maybe not possible, we are not sure. But because someone like the Supreme Buddha existed in this world, physically walked upon this earth and taught people, all kinds of people, that's why we say this is real. And if it was only real for him, and nobody else could attain, then also people would say, oh, maybe it isn't possible. But that's not the case. As he gave the teachings on this full moon day, I think 2600 and 612 years, I think. 2611 or 12 years, I think. 2666. Somewhere around 2600 and some odd years. As he gave these teachings, the first 5 disciples, out of which Venerable Anyakonyanno, he understood first day itself, and then gradually others, they attained, they became Sotapanna, later they became Arhan, and then it went on. For 45 years he went around, taught people, and then it's not just he taught people and nobody understood, or nobody could attain. The same truth, the same realization, the same liberation experienced by so many monks and nuns, men and women, upasakas and upasikas. So that's why we say this enlightenment is a real thing. Because, first of all, the Supreme Buddha, through his unmatchable practice and effort, attained. And then when he taught it, gave it to others through this Dhammacakka Pavatana Sutta, how he set the wheel of Dhamma in motion, many, not one, not two, not a dozen, not in hundreds, thousands and thousands, or maybe millions of people came, listened, practiced, attained. So many great men and women. So that's why we say this enlightenment is a real thing. Even to this day, some people still exist. And that's all started here in this Dhammacakka day. All started here. That's why I said no, when after Lord Buddha delivered this discourse, the Devas said, Etang Bhagavada Varanasiyam Isipatani Vigadhaya. Now the Blessed One has set in motion the wheel of Dhamma in Varanasi, Isipatana, in the deer park. And now this will keep rolling. Nobody, ascetics or Brahmins or kings or rulers or normal people or Devas or Brahmas, nobody is going to stop this. And nobody, in spite of so many troubles and trials and tribulations and so many ups and downs, Dhamma is very much still here. For some time it was forgotten maybe, but then it came back again in these many ways. And now also, so many people who have some level of wisdom, they are coming and learning and appreciating this. This is something better than other things. There is something special here in these teachings, because these teachings teaches us how to let go of all burden here and now. So this is the day where the whole, so that's why we say, and today is also celebrated as the Guru Purnima, the day on which people venerate their gurus and teachers. Because on this day, simply because on this day, Lord Buddha became the teacher of gods and men, Sattha Deva Manusana. Because as he gave the teachings, only Venerable Anyakondyanno was the first human being to get and realize, but there was many millions of divine beings present there. They also listened, and many were enlightened. So that's why on this day, Lord Buddha became the teacher of the gods and men. Sattha Deva was one of the qualities we say, Sattha Deva Manusana. So this is the day. So the teacher of the three worlds. Sometimes it's said, no? The teacher, the highest in the three worlds. So in this day, because Lord Buddha became the Guru, the teacher who is incomparable, whose conduct is incomparable, whose virtue is incomparable, whose attainment is incomparable, his ability to teach and enlighten is incomparable. Not like so many enlightened people nowadays, so many enlightened people. They claim to be enlightened, and then people say a little bit and then they are angry or sad or dejected or irritated. So in the name of enlightenment. Not like that. So the truly enlightened one. And on this day, as we say, the Sangha has carried on the Dhamma after so many years also, no? After the Mahaparinibbana of Lord Buddha, for so many years, from that day till now, the Sangha has carried forward. The community of monastics, they have carried forward the Dhamma. They have practiced and also taught to others. And that Sangha, the three refuge, out of the three refuge, Buddha and the Dhamma and the Sangha came into establishment in this day. Before that, the Buddha was there, Dhamma was there, no Sangha, because there was no community. So the community was established on this day. So we are so fortunate that the community was established that day, because the Sangha was established. We have the opportunity to get the Dhamma. If there was no Sangha, people would have forgotten. After a few generations, people would have forgotten. We had no chance of knowing that these wonderful teachings existed, so which is so wonderful, so superior than all other things. We had no chance of knowing because of Sangha, and the Sangha also came into existence on this day. So this day is a day of many great things actually. The Bodhisattva actually renounced, the Prince Siddhartha renounced his household life also on this day, and went and became an ascetic and so many things. So the thing is, why we celebrate? Because these teachings were given and people could take it and practice and get benefit from that day up after 2600 years, even now. And the Sangha was established, and the Sangha carried forward the teachings. In spite of many difficulties, they still did. And so, when we recollect these things, and also recollect the essence of the teaching, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, and as we recollect and practice them, then our lives will also be wonderful. Will also be wonderful because the Dhamma is something, Lord Buddha said, that the wise people have to realize ultimately by themselves. So the job of the Buddha was to teach. Job of the truth seeker is to go, learn, practice, understand. So what was the responsibility of the Buddha? He did for 45 years without tiring. Now it is up to us to take the benefit through the practice of Dhamma. So with this, we will conclude the Dhamma message on the Dhammacakka day, and may you all be able to recollect and practice the Dhamma, especially the Eightfold Path, and may it all leads to your higher and higher stages of mind and ultimately liberation.